Did you know that the average creator on OnlyFans only makes between $150 to $180 a month on their account? That is insane to me. What if I told you that I make that much literally within the first 5 minutes of most of my chats? What if I told you that one night a guy actually paid me $5,000? Yes, in one single night from one single dude. And I'm not gonna lie, this completely changed my life. And since then, let's just say we can call that a healthy average for me. If I dip below, let's say 5 Gs in a night, there's something wrong. Okay, let's just keep it there. But you probably ask, well, doing what exactly, right? Literally words, just the right words at the right time. Yeah, with a few nudes, of course, here and there. But more importantly, an effective strategy for persuasive copy, persuasive sales, ultimately. So we're going to talk about that. I am known in my circle as Goldfinger. You'll come to learn why. And let me just say, no, I'm not a magician, okay? I'm not the hottest girl on the block. In fact, you've probably noticed by now I'm actually not even a girl. But one thing I am is very fucking good at my job, and that is sales and persuasive copywriting. So in this video, I'm going to pull back the curtain, and I'm going to tell you exactly how I became one of the highest paid chatters on OnlyFans, and how you can use some of these strategies as well to earn you some shmoola. So let me start by saying, before OnlyFans, I thought that sexting, as it's called, was really just playful, dirty talk, fun talk, flirty talk, a little spicy, basically some shit that you have to do to get to third base, right? I had no idea that it could be turned into like an actual high ticket, consistent, high earning service. And this is the kind of job that literally can pay you more in one night than most people make in an entire month. I'm telling you that straight up. So when I first started out on the platform, I was doing what I guess everybody else is doing, right? I mean, I'd post a few cute pictures and videos and stuff like that, and I didn't have a very consistent, clear strategy, and I imagine that's probably why the average creator makes so little. I mean, yeah, it's fine for a few coins to come in here and there, but that's not life changing, and it definitely is not worth the effort that it takes. The turning point did come when I realized that there's a huge lie that people believe about OnlyFans, which is that the men are paying for just content. I mean, a lot of them are, but the real men with real money, that's not what they're paying for. Content will get you some attention and that kind of thing, but what gets you money is connection. So I'm going to go through a list of questions that I've generated that will help me sort of share my story with you and show you how you can start using a more intentional strategy for connection on your own OnlyFans journey. So let's get into it. All right. Who were you before OnlyFans, and what pulled you into the platform? Well, so I've worked in copywriting, sales, marketing, branding, pretty much anything around persuasive writing all of my life. And I mean, just in various capacities in different parts of the world as well. For the last, like, maybe, I don't know, 10 years or so, I've been totally freelance, and I've been working with, a few gigs here and there. But at the time when I started OnlyFans, I was dead broke. I was broke as a joke and ready to choke. Yeah, I was stuck like Chuck in a pickup truck. I had no money, and I mean, I had a few clients here and there, but anybody who's been working in this gig economy knows how that goes. So yeah, I was struggling, and I was probably complaining to this friend of mine, and she told me, well, hey, she has been working for this OnlyFans model. She's been helping her with like social media and a few sales things and whatever, and they're looking for somebody to join the team. She could talk to her and see. I'm like, cool. I've never done anything like that before, so I thought it was really weird. I was like, first of all, I was like, OnlyFans. This was like maybe 5 years ago. It was around 2020. So I thought, okay, OnlyFans, I don't know how I feel about that. That's kind of weird. First of all, I didn't even know that models hired people to like manage their social media and manage their pages and that kind of stuff. But it very quickly made sense to me because this is the field that I've been working in for a long time. I just didn't know that OnlyFans models did this as well. So I was like, all right, cool, I get it. But it goes way deeper than that. These a lot of like the top earning OnlyFans models, they actually hire a team of sexters to talk directly to their customers and earn tips from direct chatting, flirting, sending nudes. They have to unlock things for whatever, and you can charge whatever you want. And the sexters, they earn a percentage of this. This is like an income-based job with like a baseline salary in some cases. So that's what I was applying for. Of course, I thought this was completely weird because I'm like, okay, I am a guy. I'm going to be pretending to be this girl talking to these other guys. No, I happen to be a gay man, so I don't fucking mind talking to a bunch of dudes, right? Like I do that shit for free anyway. But I was like, okay, once I got over the idea that I would be sort of posing as this girl, if you want to use that term, uh, I quickly understood, especially after meeting her and meeting the team and sort of getting an understanding of what the operation is. I was like, okay, this is like a full on sales copy job. This is almost like working at a call center or something like that. And I'll explain a bit more about how this works. So I met with her. I sort of had an interview and she said, all right, cool, let's try it out. And I think in the first month or so, I showed some potential. And from there, things really, really picked up. So the next question actually is, what did my first month look like and how much did you make? Okay. So like I said, it was surprising at first because I just had no idea that there was such an operation behind OnlyFans. And let me tell you something. This girl, I mean, as a girl, it's really a woman. This is my first client in this business, and this is a literal millionaire. Make no mistake about it. If you're someone who thinks that these girls on OnlyFans are just these dumb bimbos who are out here shaking their tits for coins, for money, shake the tits for some tips, and just, oh, daddy. So if you think that that's what it is, you are completely mistaken. That may be what it looks like, okay? But the ones who are really successful, who are millionaires, who are really, really, really making that bag, they operate on a fully professional level, as in they have lawyers, accountants, they have a full-on organizational structure, they have contracts, you have to report for work, there's checks on your work, they use all of the back-end systems that typical agencies would use to track people's work and that kind of thing. You have assignments, they have meetings. It's a full-on operation. The only thing different is that the front end is tits and ass, frankly speaking. But make no mistake about it, if you want to be very successful at this business, you need to take it seriously like a business. So that was the first sort of culture shock or the first surprising thing. That first month was also super rough because I didn't make a lot of money actually. I was really bad at it at first because I just didn't understand what the game was. I figured, okay, right. So the assignment is you get a shift and your job is to talk to these guys. You reach out. It's like cold messaging or whatever. Hey baby, hey daddy, hey sweetie, what's up? How you doing? Oh, I saw that you unlocked whatever video. I can show you more if you want. Da, 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 da. So sort of like standard salesy type things is what I thought it was. And it's like, yeah, every now and then you get a little tip. A guy would kind of engage and would send a little $20 here or whatever here and there. But I really wasn't making as much as I thought I would make because, like I said, I didn't really understand what I was doing. I wasted a lot of time talking to guys who didn't have any money, who were just looking for like a quick nut, and and that was it. So also it was very long hours too, very long hours. It seems like it's easy to just sit there and send a few flirty messages, but you actually have to have a lot of organizational skills because, for instance, you can't. I mean, a lot of the content. This is something a lot of people don't know as well. As a lot of the content is pre-recorded, so even when you think you're talking directly to a model and she's sending you, she's like, "Oh, I'm in the car right now. Let me send you a pic," and like you get a picture of the skirt hiked up and the panties drawn across, and it's like, "Oh, damn, that's hot," whatever. You think that she's sending you that right away, right then and there for you specifically, bro. Let me tell you, that is that's probably part of like a whole pre-packaged thing called driving in the car flirt thing, a yellow dress, whatever. Okay, that's pre-packaged most of the time, and you as the person sort of selling this content, you can't. You have to have really good skill. You have to be very organized. Once you sell someone something, you have to make a clear note of it in whatever system they have, and you can't make a mistake. You can't sell somebody the same thing twice, otherwise the jig is up. There's a whole lot of strategy, and you also can't waste some packages too. For instance, if you sell somebody, if there's like a package that has, I don't know, 10 little clips and photos in it, and you start selling one thing out of that package to one guy, you can't come back to that guy the next day and sell him the rest of what was in that package because it's supposed to be live and happening right there. So there's no way that you're sort of doing the exact same thing in the same lighting, the same way that you were yesterday. It just won't work. So there's a lot of content and a lot of organizational skill, a lot of paying attention to details, all while trying to be flirty and effective and persuasive. So that was really, really difficult. And like I said, at first I really didn't make a whole lot of money. What was the exact moment you realized that I can play this game at the highest level? Well, so after that first maybe month or two of just being in the trenches and sort of realizing, okay, a lot of guys are time wasters. What really struck home for me was when I realized this is like any sales job, right? There are different types of customers who have different budgets, okay? And the type of customer who can afford something for $1,000 versus the type who only has $10, completely different people. It's a different strategy altogether. The way you talk to those guys is different. What they're interested in is different. What's possible, what these people are willing to pay for is totally different. And the key difference is when you are able to recognize who you're dealing with, which of the two you're dealing with, and you can adjust your strategy to make the most money from the customers who have the most money to spend. That just changes everything because you stop suddenly. I stopped wasting time with like $10 tips and stuff like that, and I started to just target only high enders, high spenders. So once I realized, okay, this had to be my strategy. I had to figure out, okay, how do I attract these types of guys? How do I sort of profile them, and how do I actually talk to them to get them to spend that money? So that was definitely the tipping point. And just realizing that like rich people do not behave like poor people. I'm sorry to say that might sound harsh, but that's just the truth, right? And if you want to attract someone who is willing to spend thousands of dollars within minutes, you have to learn how to talk like that person. You have to really, really understand what that person is looking for and how to present it to them. Give them the clearest path to get what they want. So that definitely was a huge changing point for me. Uh, and also another thing that I realized was that when it comes to wealth, like you just don't need to make it doesn't need to make sense to you, right? I don't come from a background of somebody who can spend thousands of dollars just for a few pictures and videos in a few minutes, right? That is a completely different world from what I grew up in. So I had to recognize, look, I'm not like this does not make sense to me intrinsically. I have to get over that. I cannot allow the fact that this type of spending practice does not make sense. I can't allow that to stop me from benefiting from it and from doing my job. I have to step into the world where that does make sense and operate from that place. Okay, so describe the first time you got a tip that blew your mind. What did you do? What did you say? Okay, so one of the things is, and I'll talk some more about this strategy, but one of the strategies that we use in managing these pages is that we profile customers. Okay, so you have people who are sort of like total time wasters. You have guys who are like regulars. You have the fetish guys, and that's broken down into different subcategories. But then you have like people. I mean, you can call them maybe diamond users or big spenders. So I've worked with some girls. We like to call them whales on some teams. I know that to maybe the general public might sound a little bit, I don't know, whatever, but that's one of my favorite terms is whales. Oh yeah, I have a whale. I found a whale today. And that's just like a fat pocket guy, you know what I mean? Like one of those big spenders. And generally, a well managed page will save these customers into different categories. And you'll target your best sexters towards the guys who have the highest spending capacity. So after working my way on like the basic team basically and showing that I understood how to like get value very quickly. So one thing I realized first of all was, okay, in understanding my customer, listen, these are a bunch of guys with their dicks in their hands at the end of the day, right? They're just trying to not, I mean, not all of them. Some of them are really trying to build a deep connection or whatever. But generally speaking, these guys are just trying to bust, right? And as a man, I realized myself, right? And this was another thing that I realized like was a huge advantage for me. And I'm a man who happens to like other men, right? So I am like the perfect person to understand what a man wants to hear when he's in that zone. You get me? And there's just something about men. Men are just more willing to dip into the animalistic nature than women are. So most of the other sexters are women. Most of who these models hire are women. Very few models hire men to be sexters for obvious reasons. Because you hire a man, he has to have access to all of that back end content that you're sharing. Most men, straight men, can't handle that. So most models will prefer a gay man who's not interested in what they have in front. I mean, I couldn't be less interested in what she has to sell personally. But I'm very interested in doing a good job and making a lot of money. So yeah. So I was able to kind of tap into that dirty animalistic masculine nature where it's like you can abandon all principle or all sort of like decency just for a few minutes and just get to that like yeah kind of energy. So once I demonstrated that I could really work that into a conversation and get tips really fast, I was able to kind of move up the ranks and I got to talk with my first sort of like big spender. And uh, I realized that like this guy had no, I mean, first of all, this guy has no problem unlocking a video or a photo that is $50, whereas like the average dude doesn't want to pay more than maybe $10, $20, $15 for a video. Some of these guys, they'll ask like if you send a video, they're gonna ask how long is it. That's how you know. Okay, this is a guy who's trying to like economize. Like if the video is like 2 minutes long, he might be more willing to spend $20 or something. That kind of thing. They'll negotiate. the lower spenders. You know, they'll negotiate. They'll say things like, "Oh well, I can't unlock that right now. Maybe tonight or later when I get home, or how about at the end of the week when I get paid or whatever." They're like, "All right, cool, bro, no problem." With a high ender, listen, you send a video, a photo, anything for $50, they're unlocking it right away. They don't care because to them that's nothing, right? So that's one of the ways that you can tell. So once I realized, okay, cool, this guy has no problem unlocking a $50 piece of content. Let's see how he deals with something for $60 and $70 and $80 and $90 and $100. Okay, cool. You don't mind $100, all right? No problem. So everything from now on is going to be $100 and up, and then we sort of over time kind of you can gauge what their tolerance is based on. I mean, I'll get more in. This is just an introductory video, so I'll get more into like the nitty gritty about how you can tell what someone's spending capacity is very 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 quickly. But yeah, once I caught that first whale, I just milked him as quickly as I could, literally and figuratively speaking. And I think I made maybe like $300 or $400 in that one session. And I was just, it's like once I got my first taste of that big tipper, I was like, okay, this is all I want now. I'm out for blood. And like I said earlier in the video, I mean, probably the first like crazy night I had was that $5,000 night. And this was from one dude, man. I mean, this guy just kept unlocking videos, and I just kept sending him more and more and more stuff. And he was sending me tips in between video, and it was just a crazy, hot, heavy, wild session. I was like, yo, and that's the thing is like once you catch that wave of passion right on the other end from this guy, you cannot let it go. Like you have to ride that wave really quickly. You have to turn your entire attention to this guy. You have to literally milk him for all he's willing to spend in that moment. I know that sounds really sort of exploitative, but yeah, it is what it is. And actually, to be honest, these guys, they don't care because I remember this same guy who did that 5K night for me that first time. He came back the next day and spent like $2,000 like the next night. We might feel guilty on our end from taking down that amount of cash. Well, at first, I don't feel guilty about that shit anymore. I love it. Okay. At first, you might feel kind of guilty and a bit weird and a bit strange about making that much money from one guy. Like, oh my God, am I exploiting this guy? Am I whatever? Listen, these guys, you're not exploiting them. They're fine. They have the money. They want to spend it. They might as well spend it on you. Okay. You just need to know how to get them to spend it on you. Okay, so what was one thing about high ticket sexting that you completely misunderstood at first? That there's a limit. Like I was saying, there is no limit. You can make as much as you want once you find the right whale, as it were. Yeah, I mean, I've seen guys. I mean, there are guys who spend. I think maybe five. I'm trying to remember the most I've made from like one dude in one night. I think between $5,000 and $8,000, $5,000 and $8,000, in maybe like 2 sessions that night. I think was probably the highest from one dude. But that's just only counting one night, right? I mean, when you think about how much some of these guys will hit you up 3-4 times a week and they're spending 2, 3, 4, 5K every night. I mean, it's almost too much work to sit and count how much one of these guys will spend. I mean, by the time I can certainly say by the time like you tally them up for an entire month, you're well within like 50K from some guys. So that just tells you the level of wealth that some of these guys have. And just so you know, like how it works is I make a portion of those sales. So if I'm bringing 5K a night, if he's spending 5K on a model, depending on what arrangement I have with the model, I make between 10 and 20% commission. An entry level sexter usually starts between 5 and maybe 8% commission. I think I started at somewhere around 8% commission at first, and then moved up to 10, and then very quickly because I just demonstrated a great amount of value. I've been operating at 20%. There are some models who don't want to go above 10%, but they have like specifically high end pages. So depending on the nature of what pages I'm managing, it's somewhere between 10 and 20% commission if you're like a really high-end guy. So yeah, so there really is no limit. That's probably the biggest thing that people misunderstand, because people think that there's a limit to money. There really isn't. I mean, that was the thing that for me was the most shocking. I thought, I mean, because again, I'm coming from a background of just being broke, right, and hustling. So to me, you know, I have to, I mean, of course, for one guy to spend $5,000 in one night, you'd have to do so much. Listen, this wasn't even an hour-long session. This was, I mean, this guy, I mean, how long does it take the average dude to come? 5-10 minutes? I mean, this is probably like maybe a 15-minute session, honestly. $5,000. Just like that. Okay? And I've made around that in even less time. So, yeah. What's one truth about male psychology you learned from doing this work? Men who can afford to pay for what they want will pay for it. That's just the truth. You just have to know what they want and how to give it to them, basically. And also that as long as it's genuine, or at least like seemingly genuine. Who is it that said? I think it was like Humphrey Bogart or someone of those famous actors who said, the the key is sincerity. If you could fake that, then you're gold, basically. And that's really the, I guess, distinguishing factor between a lot of these like rich men and not rich men is that a lot of these guys are actually looking for what they are at least willing to pretend is a genuine connection. Some of them actually really think that it's real and that this girl loves them and genuinely cares about them. And I'll talk about how to sort of deal with that when it happens. But generally speaking, most of these guys know that this is not a real connection. That they're sort of this is transactional, but at least for the feeling of having an authentic, genuine connection with someone who seems to understand them. I mean, yeah, these guys are willing to pay top dollar for that. What's the difference between a $20 tipper and a $2,000 tipper? Well, I generally get more than $2,000 in tips, but yeah, like a $20 guy versus a $2,000 guy, definitely the latter cares more about connection and exclusivity, whereas the $20 guy is just looking for a quick fix. I mean, he's obviously someone who isn't looking to form some kind of real connection and can't afford to anyway. So he knows that he's really just in this for a quick nut. And I mean, you can sort of tell the different. So I'll do a separate video where you can like where I talk about spotting all of the subtle differences between these two guys. But one of the top level things I'd say is that the $20 tipper usually wants to negotiate. So if you send a video or something and it's $20 to unlock, he's gonna ask questions like, "Ooh, what's that?" Or "How long is that video?" Or "Tell me what you're doing in the video." And it's like, bro, just unlock the fucking video, you know. Whereas a guy who doesn't mind it, you know, who actually has it like that, he usually unlocks without asking any questions, you know, and they're happy if you send them more. So that's definitely like a key difference in the attitude. Just how they approach spending is totally different. The guy who has money is happy to spend his money for what he wants. The guy who's a 9 to 5 regular job, making, I don't know, minimum wage or mid-level salary or whatever it is going to be holding on to his money a lot more. So he's going to give you a lot more trouble in unlocking things. What's the most expensive night I've ever had, and what was the client's reason for spending? Well, I think probably the most expensive night I've ever had was probably around 8 grand, but it was from maybe 2 or 3 different clients. I think one dude was something like maybe six, somewhere in that range, like 6 grand, and then another guy was like 2 grand from a couple of sessions. And I mean, I generally would average between, let's say, I mean, maybe like the least amount I will walk away from in a night is maybe the least amount I'll walk away with in a night is probably like 3 grand. You know what I mean? Like I'm pretty sure I haven't made less than that in a very long time. I can't remember the last time I did like a full night of sexting and didn't make, I mean, at least 4 or 5 grand. If I made, if I stopped at only 3 grand, it's probably like a slow night, or maybe I'm not feeling well, or I had to leave early or something like that. But yeah, generally speaking, between 5, 6 grand, 7 grand, 8 grand is like a decent night. That's doing well for sure. But it's also not like super uncommon because of the types of clients that I typically go after. I don't do like $20 tips, regular guys. I usually go only for high enders. But obviously, you have to work your way up to that. Stick with me, kid. I'll teach you all of my dirty little tricks. um, Talk about why content alone won't make you rich on OnlyFans. Why content alone? Well, I think it depends. I've definitely seen some pages that prioritize content. And by content, I suppose you just mean like unlocking video, sort of like mass content, like mass videos that anybody can pay for, or that everybody's buying, as well as monthly subscriptions. I've seen some pages that prioritize that model make money, but it's a lot of work on the back end. It really, really is. Like those models work really, really, really hard. I mean, the first model I worked for, that was one of the things that impressed me the most about her is that she works harder. She's a millionaire, but she definitely works harder than the average 9 to 5er. I mean, this is like 12 hour, 16 hour days of production and high quality production as well. And she works every day. I mean, she also vacations like nobody else, right? I mean, I'm talking about, you know, she's yachting in the Amalfi Coast and stuff like that. But when she's at work, this girl is a hard working person. So pages that mostly sell like mass videos for anybody to unlock, you have to have a lot of videos constantly posting. You're constantly promoting the page. You have to have a very aggressive social media strategy because the market is so flooded with people right now. You have to do a lot to stand out and to really maintain that top of mind presence with your audience. You have to put in a lot of work on the back end and a lot of content production, but it's possible. I do prefer a different strategy of focusing on high end tippers because honestly, with a fairly small page, and I'm talking about maybe, I don't know, a few thousand subscribers, maybe even less. I mean, I've definitely seen pages with around like 1,000 subscribers make crazy money from focusing on like a high end sexting strategy for sure. Okay, next question. Why whales don't actually care about sex in sexting? Okay, first of all, many of them do. They absolutely do care about sex. These are men after all. But it's certainly not the only thing they care about. And in fact, I probably wouldn't even put it at the top of the list because it's something that they can get pretty much anywhere most of the time. I mean, many of these guys are freaks on every level, right? So, and by the way, I don't say freaks in a derogatory way. I just mean they be getting their freak on, okay? Both online and offline. And some of these guys are into some of the wildest stuff that you can imagine. But certainly at that level, if you can provide, it's really just about whatever value they are looking for. Most of these high income guys, a lot of them they became super successful at some sacrifice to their personal lives. So very often they don't have loving families or a doting wife, or even if they are married, they sort of maybe have a loveless marriage, or maybe they have a lot of stress at work or in their personal lives or something like that. And what these guys are looking for ultimately is someone that isn't trying to just use them, right? Somebody that doesn't judge them, that doesn't make a whole bunch of assumptions about who they are just because they have money. Somebody that they can, feel like they have a connection with. Someone, for instance, I'll tell you one of the things that really helps to distinguish me, certainly the girls that I work for, is I always make a point of remembering small details about my clients. So for instance, last week I was talking to this guy, and his like 13-year-old son or something had a big soccer match or whatever. Actually, he couldn't finish his session with me because he had to go and drop his son off for a soccer match. So the next day when he hit me up, I said, hey, how did the soccer match go? And I let him tell me all the details about this, and rather than trying to turn the conversation straight towards sex, like we actually had maybe I don't know 20-30 minutes of conversation just about how proud he is of his son and how much he's been trying to get his son to focus on playing football and to be all the best that he can be, and he really thinks that his son has a shot at whatever league and blah blah blah. And I really spent time learning about this, and it was very obvious just from the conversation that he doesn't that probably nobody else in his life really cares about his kids high school soccer practice league, whatever. But I sat there and had a whole conversation with him, and yes, of course, afterwards we had a wonderful session. And I made probably I think he spent like maybe $3,000 that same session. After, of course, letting him talk about whatever family stuff. So a lot of it is just about the willingness to go that extra mile to care, or to at least form a connection where he does think that you genuinely care about him and his actual personal life. So that's definitely a huge tip. The single biggest mistake chatters and creators make with high spenders. Yeah, I mean, similar to what I was saying before, it's probably just about being too transactional. A lot of these guys, I mean, you can do that, and some of them are totally down for just keeping it transactional. They're very demanding and will just want what they want, and that's it. But most guys, I mean, they actually want to connect and to feel like you are sort of like a regular part of their life, their habits, the things that they look for release. If they sense that you are just there for the money, maybe they'll engage, but they're probably not going to spend as much as they would, and they'll probably forget about you at some point and get distracted and whatever it is, because you're sort of just offering them something that is very common that they can get anywhere else. These guys are uncommon guys, so they look for uncommon experiences, uncommon nuances and characteristics. They're looking for distinction because these are men of distinction. So what skill did you focus on that made the biggest difference? Well, I use a lot of skills because, like I said, I'm coming from a background of sales, branding, marketing, copy, and generally persuasive writing. But there's an element of psychological profiling that I've had to learn over the years. I think that's probably the biggest skill, I'd say, is if you can like very quickly sort of cold read someone and gauge what their psychological profile is, what type of spender they are. And I'll do a whole video about this because I actually have a spreadsheet that I use to profile these high spenders. I don't use it so much myself now because I can just do it in my head, but when I first started out, it was actually really helpful for me to make notes on our sessions and log them into this sort of index that helps me work out exactly what their psychological makeup is, so that for the next session I know exactly what buttons to press, how to bring up certain topics, how to talk to them, how to make them feel closer to me, how to make them feel vulnerable and open up to me, how to make them trust me, that kind of thing. So I'll do a whole. I mean, actually, we probably need to do several sessions on this because this is a lot to learn. But I think probably that skill of like psychological profiling is probably the thing that definitely tipped me over the edge for sure. What was the turning point where you stopped chasing tips and started attracting high-enders or high-end spenders. Yeah, I think it was when just started to be strategic and intentional rather than sort of just casting a wide net and hoping to catch something valuable. I realized, okay, there's a very specific market that I want to go after, and these people have very specific behavior, so I need to learn as much as I can about high-end men when it comes to what they want from an intimate relationship, and do put all of my energy into presenting that and positioning myself that way so that I don't have to work as hard chasing after like $20 tips here and there, and I can maybe, I mean, listen, you if you have, let's say, five really committed, loyal, high-end spenders on your OnlyFans page, I'm telling you, you can complete. I mean, you can literally be a millionaire in no time just by focusing on this sort of niche strategy of high end guys. So that definitely was like a tipping point for me. And what's coming next on the channel? Well, yeah, so this is where I'm going to be teaching you all of the lowdown, dirty secrets. Although I don't really consider them to be that dirty, because to be honest with you, these are typical sales strategies. It's just that they're being applied in this very nuanced way. So I'm going to be teaching you how I create emotional connections, and actually in some cases almost like an obsession, for these guys, and how to position yourself as a luxury experience that these guys cannot wait to spend that money on. So if you want to learn some real psychology behind earning crazy amounts of money from like high-end guys on OnlyFans, this is the place to get that tea. So make sure you lock in and you check out the other videos on this channel. Thank you so much for watching. Hit subscribe. Let me know in the comments what you learned from this video and what are some of the things that you want me to cover in the future. All right? And until then, keep it OG.
Golden shadows, they slip away. You reach to hold them, they never stay. Golden shadows, they light the dark. A fleeting ember, a dying spark. The cards are dealt, the dice are rolled. Your heart's again.